Hello friends and welcome back. It's Terry with Terry's Mailbox posting for the Funky Junkie. Today we're going to look at how neutrals can be bright. Check out this fun tag that I did using Lost Shadow, Hickory Smoke, and Saltwater Taffy. I had so much fun. So again, this is a new Tim Holtz die, the Blossoms. I also pulled out my doily embossing folder, and then I'm going to create another etc. tag. Yes, I'm back to etc. tags. So the first thing I did was I wanted to get some color on a watercolor base that I trimmed to be the same size as the mini etc. tag. So I've got saltwater taffy and some water out there. And so again, ink smooshing is one of my favorite things to do. I love the way it just kind of lays color down, and you can have some variation in depth and darkness of color. So again, I'm just kind of dipping and drying and dipping and drying to achieve the look that I want. The next thing I did was I pulled out that doily embossing folder when the tag was dry, and I pulled out the Lost Shadow Distress ink pad, and I am putting it on the flat side of the embossing folder. In this case, it's the one that does have the inked image on it. That's the side I'm using. So again, I'm going to go ahead and insert the tag in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and run it through my embossing machine. And you can see here that half the tag has the Lost Shadow on it. So what I want to do is I want to fill in the blanks here so that it almost appears to be one color. Now I will tell you that I'm going to put that large blossom on the lower section of this tag, so I'm not too worried about that line that's showing up there. So again, I'm going to just keep using my, my foam tool and keep blending until I get fairly good color on there. So still kind of working. So there's the tag, the base part. Next thing I did was I pulled out that blossom die, and then I trimmed watercolor paper to be the same size as those large floral blooms. This one's great because that floral bloom is about 4 inches across. So, I mean, it really fills up a card nicely. So the first thing I did was I ink smooshed the Lost Shadow on a piece, and that's going to be the very base of my blossom. So again, just kind of adding some more and dipping and drying, trying to get the color on there. And when I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and wipe my craft mat off and move on to the saltwater taffy. So I'll show you that here in just a minute. So put that aside. Here's my saltwater taffy coming in. So again, for that middle layer here, I'm kind of doing, again, ink smooshing, just trying to get a light color on there. So again, ink smooshing, dipping and drying, like always. So again, I love these light colors, and this, the combination of the saltwater taffy and the Lost Shadow is just amazing. It really is beautiful. So again, just dipping and drying, trying to make sure that I've got a good amount of color on there. So again, I'll set that aside. So for that top layer, what I decided to do was go ahead and apply the ink directly to the watercolor piece. So again, you can kind of see here that I am working on the textured side. So again, just ink smooshing or rubbing it on the top there. Then we'll go ahead and dry it off. And then we'll do a little bit of spritzing and dipping, trying to, again, I want to make sure that all of the crevices are full of ink as well. And so then I decided that I wanted some splatter. So I pulled out my Saltwater Taffy Distress Ink Stain spray. And so I put some dots on there, and we'll go ahead and dry those. And again, it just kind of adds some interest to what's going to be the top layer of my large floral bloom. I also had some pieces of green cardstock that was already in my stash. I keep a stash of colored. This is peeled paint, so again, you can kind of see there's a little bit of difference between the two areas that I selected to cut this leaf out. So one's a little bit lighter, one's a little bit darker. So what I'm going to do then is do the ink blending on the edges here. And again, you'll see I do that later for the blossom as well. So again, just kind of adding some color here to the perimeter of the leaves. It just kind of adds some interest. They're not so blah, all one color. So again, I'm going to set that aside. And so then here I go, cutting out all the die cuts here. And again, using my poker tool, making sure I get all of the little openings out as well, because that's what really adds the dimension and interest to this flower bloom. So again, we'll kind of line that up there, and then we'll pull out this middle or the top layer. And what I found to be the most helpful with this, because it had so many pieces, thin pieces that stuck out from the center, I found it easiest just to run my poker tool around the middle of the flower and kind of then slide it up and down, and that really made those pieces come out easy. So again, when you first look at this thing, it is a little bit difficult to match up, but there is kind of like, there's an area that has like the top of a Y is almost what it looks like, and you can match that up and, you know, again, find that one unique cut that helps you, helps you line that flower up. So again, here I go again with the ink edging on all of the pieces here. I didn't do the gray one because again, it's completely hidden by that middle piece. So I'll just kind of do the very detailed top layer and then the middle layer. I just think it adds a lot of interest and texture to your pieces. We can't have blah now, can we? So again, I got that done. Oh, so the next thing I'm doing is pulling out my collage medium, and I had a little bit of a clog there, so I pulled out my safety pin. I've got lots of safety pins and things sitting on my desk. So again, I'm going to go ahead and just add dots of collage medium to that piece here. I just really like this die. I've already used it twice on two things that I'm posting, so I can see me using this again. So there's that piece that kind of looks like a Y that I ended up using to line up the two layers. And then that leaf is going to go there on the back. Next thing I decided to do was to use some foam tape just to pop up that second and third layer. I thought that might be kind of interesting, add some shadows. So again, I pulled out my gigantic roll of foam tape, and I am just trimming and adding the foam tape here. You'll see how nicely it pops up this, this floral bloom. And again, you don't have to have the tape everywhere. You just kind of, as long as you've got it around the outside so that it can stand up. So decided to add a few more pieces here. There we go. That's looking pretty good. So the next thing I wanted to do was do the flower center. So I grabbed a piece of watercolor paper, and you can see on the one side I just dragged the hickory smoke ink pad over it, and on this side I'm doing the ink smooshing. So again, the dark side there is going to be the very top or the texture of the flower center, and then the light gray is going to be the second layer, just kind of for a little bit of a shadow. So I thought that worked out pretty well. So again, I decided to do a little bit of dipping on that dark side that had the ink just kind of rubbed onto it. So So then I went ahead and die cut them out. So we've got the two pieces here. So the center piece is the darker color, and then the base layer for that is going to be the lighter color. It's so easy to add texture with, different amounts of inking and coloring. It really, it amazes me. So again, I pulled out my collage medium, and I love this stuff for, just attaching all of these different pieces, especially when I'm working with tags. The collage medium is the best thing to attach watercolor backgrounds to the tags itself, and then also for layering and, attaching watercolor paper, because it is so thick and textured, and, sometimes it's difficult to get it glued on there. So again, here's what I'm doing. I ended up putting the leaf off to the left. I also wanted to dye some seam binding. So again, this is in Saltwater Taffy, so I could have a nice bow at the top. So got that part done. So now I'm going to attach my my tag here. So again, I traced around the opening there so that I could punch out the holes. So I'm just using a regular hole puncher and just kind of, sliding it in far enough. So the hole is not perfect, but again, it's big enough that I can attach that seam binding on. So again, using my collage brush here and just brushing on the collage medium. And kind of I'm dabbing it along the perimeter, because that's really the place that tends to want to curl up when you're doing these things. So again, I'm gonna put that on there. I grabbed a brayer to just kind of push it and make sure that I had good adherence, especially when I've got that textured doily part up there at the left-hand side. And so you can kind of see it. It's just soft and gentle. So again, we're going to set that down, put some blocks on it, and let it dry. So the next thing I'm doing is just attaching my flower here. You can see I've already got the bow tied up there at the top. And then we'll go ahead and again pull out the collage medium, add it to the leaves and then the blossom. The sentiments actually came from the Make Today die set, from the bold text. And so I ended up cutting it out. And a lot of times you use the shadow part of it, but I decided to use the letters. I like the size of them. And by the way, you should see a red arrow at the lower right-hand segment of your screen. I'd love it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do a lot with flowers, do a lot with Tim Holtz. Again, just really, really enjoy, filming my projects. So again, here I'm just kind of taking the cutout letters from that die set. And I did do this in Hickory Smoke, by the way. And again, I wanted it to be a little bit darker. The lost shadow just wasn't dark enough. So again, I did that smooshed in Hickory Smoke and then cut out the piece. So again, I'm using my collage medium here. And in a minute, you'll see I'm going to pull out my T-ruler so that I can make sure that the sentiment is straight. So again, I'm kind of lining it up there. And then I decided to go ahead and move the T part over there to really make sure it was straight. So I hope you've enjoyed my video today using neutral colors, something totally different. I know I normally go for the bright and colorful ones, but today it's all about neutrals. And so here is my finished tag. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Again, I'd love to have you subscribe. It's Terry with Terry's Mailbox. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Blogger, and YouTube. You have a great day.